Hi, this is Sarah, founder of Learn Better. Today I want to talk about setting the tone at the beginning of your trainings. Now, as a kid, I played a lot of sports. Soccer and basketball were my favorite, and I remember my coaches always saying the same thing in both sports. How you started the game, the tone and the energy you set really had a lasting impact on how we played the rest of the game. And what I learned was that they were right. If we started out sloppy or low energy on the heels of our feet instead of on our toes, typically our games did not go as well. However, if we started our games with great intention, energy, and focus, excitement, we tended to play really, really well. Now, the exact same thing is true if you are a trainer as it relates to training. So let's dive in and take a look at how we can set the tone for our trainings to have a lasting impact on training success. In this Learn Better mini lesson, we're going to explore 3 different strategies that you can employ to set up your trainings for success. So first, the first strategy is to bring the excitement and the energy. As a trainer, it's really important that you show up excited for your training. If you're not wild about the content you're teaching, that's okay. Let's get excited about the fact that we have people that are coming together that have the opportunity to learn something that could make their life easier and better. So what does energy and excitement look like? Number 1, the first thing I like to do before any training begins is play music. Now, it doesn't have to be this really wild music, but the energy and excitement that music brings into an environment is very real. The second strategy is to get out from behind your computer before the training starts and shake people's hands when they walk in. Greet them and say good morning, good afternoon. Tell them that you're glad that they are there. Okay? You should not be setting up your training up until the minute before it begins. That should be done a good 10 to 15 minutes before anybody walks in the room so that you're able to stand up and greet your people, ask them how things are going, and really build those connections in. When you do that, that creates a sense of engagement and excitement. Thirdly, in terms of excitement and energy, I like to tell people why I'm really excited about the training that day. When you do this, you're able to share some authentic connection you have to the content and the training, knowing that it's going to do something really helpful for your learners. That authentic connection from you creates a sense of trust from the people attending your trainings. Again, this also creates that energy and excitement for the other people who are walking into your classroom. If you're not excited, then they're not going to be excited. You have to set the tone. Now, I remember in college, I had this amazing professor, and she was a professor of music history. And the very first day we walked in, I've told this story so many times. The very first day we walked into class, she told us, "Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I love music history." She said there was nothing she'd rather be doing than teaching music history. And her genuine excitement for her content made me thrilled to go to class. And I will never forget that moment because it made me want to come back every single day. And I didn't really know a lot about music history at that point. It didn't matter. Her energy and excitement made me excited. Okay, so we talked about energy and excitement. Let's change and move on to strategy number 2, which is looking at your physical space and doing something to make it more unique, inviting, and engaging. Now, I'm sure I'm not in the minority here when I say the physical classroom is a great place to bring snacks. So if you have the opportunity to bring in some food, please do that. I know that not all businesses will pay for that in your training. When that happens, I don't mind going to the grocery store and getting a couple dozen donuts or getting a dozen and cutting them in half. I know that if I have some type of food in my training, it just makes it that much better. And I'm guessing that's true for you and your participants as well. Now, speaking of physical space, if you have the opportunity to put things on the walls or modify the physical space, here's a few things that I like to do. Number 1, I like to put up questions around the room that we are then going to answer later in the training. I do the same thing with words or concepts. If there's some type of concept that I really want people to focus on, I put it up on the wall as almost like an anchor chart for people to be checking in with. And then during the training, I'll point over there and say, okay, how does what we're talking about right now relate to that? Second thing I like to do is bring in name cards, just 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and have people fold them and write their names on them, both sides. What this does is a couple of things. Number one, it tells me who is in the classroom, what everybody's name is. And then it also makes sure that the participants know each other's names. And this is kind of this subliminal signal that, hey, we are going to be engaging with one another. We are going to be talking. And at minimum, we need to know each other's names to do that in a respectful manner. The last thing I like to do is have some type of image or question or concept on the slide deck the second people walk in the door. So again, naturally when people are walking into a classroom or a training room, they're going to look at probably the projector. If you can have something up there really interesting, I think that just gets your learners' brains activated and really in the mindset of what the training is focused on. The last thing I want to focus on is setting up training norms so that you are very clear about the environment that your training is going to be in. What is the expected environment that participants can walk into, knowing that these norms are what we are focusing on and what we are truly abiding by in that training? That has a huge impact on setting the tone in your training. When we are explicit about what we expect from others and what they can expect from one another, it creates this sense of trust and ease that, hey, this is a safe place and we're going to be engaging with one another so that we do deeper levels of thinking and learning. So here's how this looks in my training. I usually greet people as they're walking in, again before they walk in, so that at the top of the hour or half past the hour, whenever we're started, we're going. We're going to go right then and there. Then I usually say, hey, everybody, I'm so glad you're here, and I create that sense of energy and excitement. And then I like to say, hey, there's a few things I want to talk about before we get started in our training. These are the training norms that I'd really like you to consider, because this is how we set up our classroom for a safe and effective learning environment. I like to tell my learners that training norms are just a really easy way to level set on the expectations of the environment. Here's some examples that I like to use, and I either put them up on a projector or I have them actually on physical pieces of paper around the classroom. So for example, these are some great training norms that I like to use often when I'm in front of groups. Number one, I ask people to be present and engaged. I also tell my learners, these are norms I will do myself as well. I will be present, I will be engaged, my phone will be on silent. Number two, turn off notifications if possible. I know that this creates a sense of anxiety, but I tell my learners we have 45 minutes together, and to make the best use of this time for them so that they can upskill in whatever we're focusing on, turning off those notifications will really help your brain be able to focus on what we are learning. Number three, I say, please close your laptops. We usually start with some type of learning activity where people are not on their laptops. I ask people to ask questions, withhold judgment, be yourself, honor others, be curious, try something new, and have some fun. So those are just some examples. Pick the ones or write your own that feel like they fit you and your environment the best. If time allows, I do like to ask my learners to come up with their own training norms for that experience. So the way that I usually ask this is I usually say, what does a really engaging learning environment look like? What are people doing? What are they not doing? And then using that language, people are usually pretty easily able to come up with some really effective training norms. That creates buy-in and a sense of connection with our participants and level setting for the environment. Why does all of this matter? Why does it matter to set the tone at the beginning of your training? Because everything comes back to engagement. When we are using this energy and excitement, when we are setting training norms, when we are telling the why behind our trainings, what we're doing is telling our participants that this learning experience matters and that we're going to use our time really effectively so that they can gain the most knowledge and skills from this experience. How you walk into your training really sets the tone, and you become the example for your participants as far as how are we going to act, how excited are we going to be, and how amazing is this learning experience going to be. Okay, so we've talked about energy and excitement, the physical space, and setting up group norms. If we are intentional about those three pieces as we prepare and begin each one of our trainings, I have no doubt that you will set the tone for incredible training experiences into the future, and that your learners will ultimately, without question, learn better. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in our very next Learn Better mini lesson. Have a great day.